Peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about being wary of beings who give gifts or do nice things too often or out the blue. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you start receiving gifts or beings are doing like nice things and it seems randomly out the blue, usually 10 times out the blue, it's because something witchy was being done in the physical realm and in the spiritual realm. So for me, I had to get to this understanding a long time ago, right? Because some days I would come back to the house, like this was years ago, and I just used my BM as a small example. I would come back to the house and it would be like nice things done sometimes. I'm like, I just used to be weirded out sometimes because she didn't do those kind of nice gestures. Like, she did other kind of things that was nice that drew me into her, but it wasn't that kind of take initiative kind of thing. You know what I mean? So after a while paying attention to the signs and just seeing that, all right, every time like it's been a smooth week of just everything is steady, stable, regular, there will be a time span to where something nice is done. Let's say like I get home from work and like this is a long time ago, she may be like doing something nice, like have my daughter outside doing chalk work or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? When that was something that she did do, but it was more so of like it was other witchy stuff being done while I was at work. So like say that's happening, you know, when you do something so often, the fruits of it start to spill over. So, of course, after that routine happening for a while, I start to see the fruits of it, like extra random calls or the phone is a little bit more on silent. Just little subtle things like that. And then I also have situations to where like one of my male co-hosts, he would go out and do extra nice things, like maybe go out and get like an extra ring lamp or like do some extra shit, but like behind the scenes in the spiritual realm and in his physical realm, he knew he wasn't taking the initiative steps to put in the work for us to kind of elevate the Godcast together, you know what I mean? Opposed from me doing all the work and then him just kind of tagging along. But I run into this pretty fucking often, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other beings do, because the physical world is kind of used by the witchy team as the first leading example of they have to have physical proof, or they need something physical to connect with it to kind of establish that in their realm they can acknowledge it and it's real. So they work really hard to not acknowledge the spiritual realm, opposed from their feelings and things that's dealing with self. You know what I mean? So all presents, items, and things that people do for you are not going to be welcoming, and it's all not going to have the best energy behind it. So like you'll have somebody like, you know, break one of your items or some shit like that, and they'll want to fix you dinner afterwards, you know what I'm saying? But then it's still kind of the same energy. You're not really getting really apologetic energy for doing it, you know? So that's when you have to understand, like, you cannot take these things as accidents. That's the hard part and the weird truth of it, is that you cannot take these things as accidents. These things are done intentional, you know? If I can tell my daughter and mention to her some things at the age of 6 and she's 7 now, you know, and she catches on right away, and we're having the same process with grown-ass people, men and women, then you already should understand, like, they are not from or receiving their information where we're receiving ours. You know what I mean? So you just have to understand that giving items and doing nice gestures, it's always some kind of reciprocation that, you know, they're looking for it from it back. Or if they're not looking from it back, it's because they're just covering their ass because they just did some witchy shit. You know what I'm saying? And it could have been any kind of witchy shit. You know what I'm saying? It could have been making one of your clothing items disappear to putting a hole in your tire or something, you know what I'm saying? It could be anything, or to fucking gossiping behind your back. It could have just been that. That's still putting low vibrations out and negative vibrations about you outwardly, you know what I'm saying? They're attaching your name to it, and it's putting a weird frequency with it. So just being mindful, like, of these things that's happening, because sometimes it's like you want to take the gestures, you know, like, oh, that was nice of you, thank you, and then sometimes you just have to learn to pass on it. Be aware and pay attention to the energy that's behind it. You have to dig into the energy and the spirit that's behind it. So they're really good at masking, they're really good at hiding. So when you play somebody who's really good at hide and seek, you know you're not gonna find them in the first few seconds. You might not even find them in the first few minutes. You got that one motherfucker that's super good at hiding, and it always takes everybody at least 10 to 15 minutes to find them. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a subtle representation of what actually is happening out here. So, and what's crazy is, it's like, you never really know what kind of being you are until you start getting the reflection of it from beings who've known you for a long time. And the thing about, like, being in this light, or being light yourself, you know, you kind of walk that way your whole life. You know, I always felt like I've been a pretty solid being, even though I'm a human and I done made mistakes and had my own trials and tribulations. But I always been solid in my motherfucking principles. And that never really registered until my nephew is now 23, 24. You know, that's the next generation down, and being in more communications with him, and him just slowly throwing out things that stood out to him from us engaging, and me going out my way to spend that time with him when I could, you know what I'm saying? So, and that was a huge impact on him. And what's crazy is, it's like, you don't always see the physical fruits of it right away. But for me, standing solid for so many years and knowing that I wanted to do better for the next generation, I'm living in it now. You know, my nephew is comfortable with calling me while he's in a weird space, or just going through some shit for some knowledge and information, you know what I'm saying, just for some energy. So just understanding that just should let you know, like, everybody isn't always gonna have your best interests at heart, you know what I'm saying? So when you know what it's like for someone to do have your best interests at heart, you know what it feels like when people don't, and when people are just doing things just to do them. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody held the door open for you only because they wanted to trip you. You know what I'm saying? Or women, you know, fellas, somebody may hold the door open, fella may hold the door open for the women just to look at that ass, you know what I'm saying? So it's all like, it's all a weird process out here. I'm in one of those spaces where it's like, I feel like, yes, they could mask and do all the other witchy shit, but if all the solid beings just started being like, yo, I know we're trying to figure out like how to collectivize together, so how about like all of us solid individuals, like the ones that are positioned to get, maybe say, like, we all, like, it should be a space to where all the healers have the same color, like, let's say, like, just to distinguish, because we're in the Western world, all the healers have red vehicles, you know what I'm saying? That's their established color, you know what I'm saying? And then their energy and their work is the value and the substance to show for it, you know what I'm saying? And then you could probably have, like, I don't know, like, all hunters or people who gather food, you know, maybe all of them are in blue trucks, you know what I'm saying? But in our world, while we're mixed and riding around in this shit, we should be able to tell our little people, because my daughter asks me sometimes, oh, daddy, who's that? Or daddy, who is that? Or where are they going? I don't know. But I could tell you where an ambulance is going. I could tell you where a cop car is going. You know what I'm saying? So we have to start figuring out more subtle ways for us to collectivize, because we already know we're going to have all this witchy shit in the process. So the thing is, it's like, you clean and declutter at the same time. We do it all the time in our house. We clean and declutter at the same time. So we should be able to do the same thing now. While we're cleaning this shit, all of us standing in these positions and places, you know what I'm saying, doing whatever we can to raise this motherfucking vibration and to make sure the next generation is more well equipped for this shit, you know what I'm saying? Start taking the steps now, you know what I mean? Like, anybody can throw these on, but these are kind of a subtle way for a lot of us to be like, okay, they're connected to that world, and then it makes you want to dive into that being and then see if they're actually in that world or if they're just using these physical representations of it, you know what I mean? So that's always gonna be a thing, but just being aware of the objects, you know, the material things, when people are going out their way to be extra nice, because a lot of that time, I ain't gonna say a lot of the time, actually I am, because it's a lot of witchy motherfuckers. I'm not gonna take my shit back trying to be courteous. A lot of the time it's always some weird energy that's going on in between the lanes behind it, you know what I mean? But I ain't want to run it up too long, you know what I'm saying? Tapping everything down below. Peace and love to the kings and queens.